I didn't know we were going to be doing a lean on this podcast.
Film teaches you a lot.
This is why I'm saying you have the job that every boy wants.
She's so emotional of our shoot.
Tito's lighting assistant died. So worried we're going to get sued. Here we are at the first Leverage podcast. For those of you who don't know who we are Leverage Sofia. We have a creative agency here in the capital city of Bulgaria. We are in the beautiful podcast studio of Resonator Technology Hub. They have VR, robotics studio, sound design, sound production, and of course, this awesome podcast studio. We have our first guest to shake down this concept with us. I'm going to introduce him. I've written an official introduction. So we are going to talk today with the incredibly skillful, talented automotive photographer and retoucher. He shoots for the likes of Mercedes Benz Germany, BMW Germany, Audi Bulgaria, Porsche Bulgaria, BMW Bulgaria, and more high-end automotive sales, tuning, and racing businesses here in Bulgaria. Deyan Yordanov, aka Dito Original on Instagram.
Welcome, Dito.
Thanks for having me here. First of all, as the first guest, it's an honor. Really,
thank you.
I'm not just saying that.
Thank you for joining us and doing this with us. We knew that you would be a great first person to have on because, in my opinion, you somewhat have the job that every young man who loves cars would love to have, which is, going around the world and shooting the most beautiful cars for cool organizations like you do. So I want to kind of get into how we met you. So I think, Ivan, you found Dito on Instagram, right?
I think I found you without looking for you. I think you just came up naturally on my feed, and I followed you. And we didn't actually have a project at the time that we needed automotive photography for, but I think I was just really, really impressed with the quality of your work. And then I shared it with you, Savina. And when our first project came up, we invited you in and had a really, really incredible and long conversation about your work and what you do. And I think from there, we just kind of knew that it was going to be a really, really cool experience working together.
In our work, we need to be surrounded and have a network of really good people who are in different creative fields. And when I saw your work, I saw the stuff that was done for Audi. I saw the stuff that was done for Mercedes. And I was like, wow, this guy he's really legit. He does it exactly how you see on global advertising campaigns. And the project that we ended up pulling Dito in for was for an automotive company, but it was they were in the field of production and they were a B2B business. So just in short, they are producing these very interestingly engineered racks that are going on the top of commercial vehicles to carry ladders to help workers save their bodies and easily transport and maneuver, heavy work equipment on top of big vans. And this company came to us for a rebrand, which we executed for them, a full rebrand, changing the look and feel of the company, even into, creating the new badging and branding of the products. And it was quite interesting with this company because they were the best in the field. They had numerous patents. The engineering for the technology started in the United States, and then they came over to Europe. And when we went and saw their factory, they really were very high level. Everything was made out of the highest grade aluminum. They had over 90 extrusions, that they were producing in-house. And so when we did sort of the market research in the B2B sector, the marketing everywhere was horrible. And when it came time to, start producing content for them, for their website, for their catalogs, if we can give them photography that's on the level of the big players on the market who are in the B2C, like Thule, Yakima, that's going to put them on a completely other level, next to their competitors, because they really are, the highest in their market, but it's completely invisible, So Dito is a big ace up our sleeves. I don't remember what was your impressions when we're okay, we're not going to shoot Porsches, sexy cars. We're going to go shoot commercial vehicles like VW crafters and these types of things. And we're not going to just shoot one or two cute photos for a catalog. We're going to shout 50 photos in the hot sun over 4 days.
Yeah.
50 plus photos.
Over 5 days, by the way. I think we shot from it was a Monday, and we shot until I think Friday. We had 5 full days.
Yeah, no, I last night when I was thinking about the podcast, I was kind of like going through the logistics of it. And basically this was probably one of the most like high pressure shoots that we've ever done, because Ivan and I made this planning that was doable. And they're like, no. We're like renting vehicles from Mercedes. Other people are lending vehicles. Some of the vehicles are drivable, some are not drivable. We have multiple product lines and configurations that we need to shoot. So these vehicles were organized across, we had to organize them across different locations. The mechanics were taking one rack off of one vehicle while we were shooting another one, reinstalling it. And basically we had the like spreadsheet of death with 50 super specific things that needed to be shot over the course of several days. And they're like, oh yeah, and by the way, we're like flying the whole team in for this week. And I was like, why? And they're like, oh, to support you, but don't worry, no pressure. There's going to be like stakeholders at this week. They weren't sitting on our heads the whole time, but we had the lead engineers from the company there. We had like a pretty good crew of the actual PDE production guys assisting us in the whole thing, and it was
Lubo as well. we should mention Lubo.
Lubo.
Yeah, Lubo was the guy that did everything for us. He was a model. He was like a technician. He swapped the racks. He did like minor repairs that we needed. So yeah, Lubo is an honorable mention here.
Yeah,
I don't know, Dito, how you felt leading up to this project, but for me personally, I remember I was like super stressed out before this project. We'd never done anything quite at this scale for any client, video, photo. And I remember going with you, Savina, to spec out locations and just all the like logistical, are they going to let us shoot here? Are we going to get kicked out? You know, can we have this building in the background? Can we stop here? How long are we going to have to be here for? Like all these things. It was just like the first time that I had ever had to think about all these moving parts. And it's incredible looking back and seeing what we were able to realize. And we'd never
been faced with something like that. But
scale, like 10, how many? 10 vehicles, 8 vehicles? Like
I think we had about 8 vehicles, and like I said, like some of them had plates, some of them were drivable, some of them were not drivable, some of them had to be returned early.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we took the crafter and I put Waze on to get us out of Zacharna Fabrika, and it took us through like this tiny little street, and I was driving in the front with you, and there was this big like brand new crafter behind us going through these like tiny streets. You guys remember that?
I don't remember that. I blocked that out.
I blocked it out as well. Maybe it was a 40-degree sun. I don't know.
Yeah, and then when we took it to the car wash, and the guys were like washing it with the power washer.
Now I'm remembering that.
Okay, were coming off.
So we had designed like, stickering, branding, decals, badges, but everything was prototype just for the photo shoot. So we were not sure about the weather resistance, the water resistance, and they didn't wash their own vehicle that they contributed. So we had to, before going to the location, take the vehicle to be washed, and they're like pressure washing it. And I'm literally standing next to the bro at the washing station, like monitoring exactly. I'm like, don't spray on that sticker. Don't spray on that sticker. And like at one moment, like at the end, he kind of like unsticks part of it. I'm just like putting it back on. Anyway, Dito, please tell us.
I wasn't aware of that part.
Tell us about your impressions of this circus.
Well, first of all, my main issue here was like, where are we going to shoot? As you mentioned, there were a lot of locations, a lot of vehicles, and the logistics were a nightmare. At least they look to be like if we couldn't like find a location that's suitable and we can do it all in one place, and it's we have like, let's say, shade, or let's say if it's at least indoors. And we had, as you remember, incredible luck because the one of the industrial buildings next to, it's a brand new building. It was a brand new building, and it was like just next door to their facility. And they said, yeah, it's free, and we just have to pull some strings. We can probably get us inside. And yeah, they got us inside, and we shot there for 5 days. That was my biggest concern. We also had a RAM that we can do the overhead shots, which was specifically what we needed. We had like several different locations inside and several different angles that we can use and shoot. We could, let's say, put 3-4 vehicles next to each other, which was also a necessity at some point. So we had a great luck finding that location. That was my biggest concern of all. I knew that we're gonna pull that off, but we needed let's say a pretty nice spot to do all these 50 images, which, as you saw, because we're compositing, I have like 3,000 or 4,000 images from that week, because we shoot it at different angles. We're going to touch up on that later, but yeah, we do a lot of different light angles and all that stuff, and we needed space and of course shade to do that properly. So we had incredible luck.
Yeah, that location was a huge stroke of luck. It was literally this brand new hangar that had multiple ports that you could bring like full size vans into, a platform that we could put ourselves and our tripods and ladders up on top of. And we didn't have it really until like about 5 days beforehand. And I remember sending video of it to the marketing manager of PDE, and he was just clapping, and everyone was like rejoicing.
That was such a godsend. I don't know what we would have done without,
and it's because on that particular shoot, work lifestyle photography was like, the full vans, in different sort of scenarios, like near construction sites, near industrial sites. We had studio type photography where the vehicles were supposed to look, kind of like on a clean background. We had a lot of detail photography of the componentry. So it was like really, like imagine everything that goes into Thule or a Yakima or any other type of product catalog. Like we had to have all of that, and we needed to get it done for about 8 product lines, and we had to do it in pretty much 4 or 5 days. Anyway, so that was a big bonding experience, a sort of trial through fire. I want to get into sort of like how this all started for you, Dito. We need to go back to the beginning. So can you tell us about where did it all start? What was your first contact entry point with photography? Like as a kid growing up on the mean streets of Lulein, how did it come together?
That's not where I grew up. But anyway, I've always had a thing for photography. Like my granddad, he has shot film back in his day, like almost all people did. But yeah, he had a thing as well. And I've always, as I said, I've always had a thing for this, but I never really started, trying what I can do with a camera until maybe 2006, 2007. And then even when I started, I was really lost. Like I tried shooting, let's say, flowers, birds, kind of trying to shoot portraits and all that stuff. Just, it's basically how every photographer starts out. You try to, first of all, you're interested in portraits, and then you start doing macro, and then you start trying to do star trails and all that stuff. And at some point I realized that my, car photos are turning out pretty good. So I started going to events like drift events or racing events, and basically all the shots that I had from these events were like levels above the other work. And at some point it was actually, as you mentioned, a stroke of luck again, because a friend of mine, he had a contact in Overdrive. Overdrive is a Bulgarian tuning company. They do a lot of car customizations. They do have a repair shop. They do have a dyno. And he said, like, their photographer is, they're want to change it. Like, they want to let him go, and they're looking for a different person. You want to go and, maybe try. I had like absolutely no experience in the real world, like working with a client and, meeting their requirements. He was just, shooting for fun. So I went there with my gear. I was like peanuts money. And the day before that, I bought a lens that was like the equivalent of 2 salaries back then. And I did a shoot for them, and they reverted back with an answer. Yeah, sorry, but that's not good enough. And that's the thing that probably got me, got my gears on and moving, because I was like, really? Is it not good enough? Yeah. So in the next 6 months, I shot like every interesting car that my friends had. Like I started shooting VW Golfs and whatever the car. I just wanted to try and light paint it and to try strobing it. And 6 months after that, I went back for a different assignment. It was I believe it was a Porsche that we needed to shoot, a Cayenne, and I did a okay job, and they liked me. And actually, that's when I started working for clients for money, because that was the first time I got paid for a shoot. So that's the beginning of no, actually not beginning, the autumn of 2012. So about 10 years ago. So that's where I can, let's say, put my finger on and say, yeah, that's the start of my professional career.
What did you really even have access to at that point as far as like gear?
I had a Canon 350D, which was a crop sensor camera, a pretty entry level one, and a couple of lenses, the kit lens, which is total crap. Excuse my French, and 70-200, and just the day before the shoot, I bought a 11-16 Tokina, which is a wide angle lens, so I can shoot some interiors. So yeah, that's where I invested in I think I got a Canon 60D afterwards, and I swapped my lenses for better ones. Bought a strobe, a speed light, bought some soft boxes and all that stuff. So yeah. This is what I was shooting in the beginning.
Just out of curiosity, obviously, we'll touch on this a little bit later, but were you shooting like composite photos at that time, or were they just kind of like one-shot retouch?
Yeah, I was doing my first steps into compositing. Yeah.
Okay,
Can you just, for those who are not initiated, can you explain what composite photography is?
Yeah, I can give an example right away with one of the PD shoots. This image, as you can see, it has been shot, in the open and outside, and this is what we end up with after, let's say, 20 to 30 different images. We are moving the diffusion, we are moving the light as well. So this is called compositing. You shoot like 20, or the number depends on what you're trying to achieve, but you shoot different strobe positions. You light the car in sections, and then you combine all that into Photoshop to get a full image. So that's what compositing means in our world. Like, you can use you don't need to light the car. You can use different exposures, or some people do. Let's say they get the background, the backdrop from let's say from a mountain scene. You get a car, you get a road. That's also compositing. But in what I do, I do refer to the different angles that we use for the strobe itself.
I think that was one of the biggest, now I'm remembering that one of the biggest godsends of that industrial warehouse that we had was that we were able to do like the composite studio look photography. Like, all the photo that you're showing right now looks like something that was shot in.
I'm gonna have to do some edits.
Drink your vodka.
Let me just hit some more cough syrup.
Sure.
I didn't know we were going to be doing a lean on this podcast. The warehouse allowed us to do the kind of studio photography that would only have otherwise been possible in like in a closed area with controlled lighting. And that's the first time that I really kind of saw and understood the power of the composite imagery, which was really cool.
I didn't know what I was getting into. I was just like, I've seen the end result. That's what we need in the catalogs. And if I could vulgarize it, I would say it's very much they take light and isolate every part of the vehicle to get basically like a perfect shot. When you take one shot, there's always some sort of compromise. One part is too light, one part is too dark, one part's in focus, one part isn't. And it doesn't matter how much you work it in Photoshop, you're not going to get the optimal. This is scanning the car, taking like the perfectly lit shot of every part of the car, and then going through and taking all those perfect parts, layering it back together to get this like perfectly exposed, perfectly visible. And it was very interesting because on these photos that we were taking, the company's mechanics, their engineering, their componentry was very important. And the cool thing was that it was from the front of the car to the back of the car, you can see every element in like perfect clarity and exposure. So when the clients are like bitching about like, oh, why is the photography so expensive? It's because it's like, it's like literally hundreds of photos into one. Like what was like the retouching time on like average on one of those photos?
Well, it depends on the image, but let's say for this specific one that I'm showing now, it's like maybe 2.5 hours of work per image. Yeah.
And also, just to illustrate for the lighting part, I don't know if this is the tactic that most people use, but in our case, it was you taking the photos and your lighting assistant, your friend, or me walking, like holding the stand and like
Yeah.
moving like across the whole vehicle, making sure everything was lit. Is that how it's always done?
Well, yeah, that's one of the ways. You can also light paint, but you need complete darkness for that. Like you use a not a strobe, not an impulse light. You use a constant light source, and then you just light paint. You can do that all in one sweep. But you need, as I said, complete darkness, and you don't have as much control as you do with strobes.
What does that mean, light painting? How does that work exactly?
You need a constant light source,
Okay.
and it's let's say put your camera, in 5-second exposure, and then you go around the car with the light source, and you pretty much, it will look like a big light that is surrounding the car.
So in essence, you're like moving around the car with a
Yeah,
long
you're moving around the
exposure.
car, and at the end result looks like a big, light source moving around the car and lighting the car. But as I mentioned, you do have a lot less control that way. I prefer, of course, you need also the surrounding, area to be dark, which is also a problem. We didn't have that, as you remember,
Yeah.
we shot, in the daylight, and the important thing you need also is a good tripod, because that's what I forgot to mention. All the shots have to be precisely at the same. The tripod the camera doesn't have to move at all.
Okay, so I just wanted to also ask, were you like a car fan?
I still am, yeah. That answers your question, I guess. I've always had a thing for cars as well, and that's why when I combine them both, I guess that's why the results are so good, because I do have a thing for cars. I've always had a thing for cars, same with photography, and also I'm a perfectionist. I want what I do to make to look perfect. So that's the funny thing. The other day I was talking with a 3D guy. He's modeling cars and doing 3D stuff. By the way, which I am also implementing in my future work. I'm starting to use backdrops, to use 3D models of cars. This is what I think is a natural progression for an automotive photographer, because 3D is coming and stepping in like quite hard. So this is what I feel that I need to incorporate, and that's the way to move forward. I will also, of course, keep my photography work, but I want to do some experiments, and basically we photographers, at least what I do, the commercial work, I do try to make it look like 3D. And the funny thing is that people that are into 3D are trying to, make their work look like it's being photographed. So to make it imperfect. And the funny thing is that we photographers, we try to make it perfect to look like 3D. So that's kind of a interesting thing that I wanted to mention.
I don't understand that at all. The 3D guys, they're like render farms and this and texturing and photographing real life stuff to make their stuff look as like raw and real as possible. And then the photographers are like just photoshopping the shit out of everything to make it look like a 3D model.
Yeah.
Everybody wants what they can't have. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about, from shooting locally for Overdrive, which is the biggest, I would say, auto sports brand here in Bulgaria. You've gotten into projects for the international levels of BMW, of Audi. How did you make the transition from being a local photographer to getting into these higher level projects?
I think that I should start with the Mercedes Benz Stuttgart project that I shot for them like in 2017. Basically, they at that time they did have a group, a Facebook group with like 500-600 photographers from all over the world. And it was called MB Social Car Project. So they, gave cars sometimes, we had paid projects sometimes, for free, just for exposure. They did cover your expenses, but it was like free work. And they used to, let's say, post a car every week or so. And they say, yeah, we have this car available in our Stuttgart location. You can get it from, the time frames are like, this week, next week, the return date is like the 10th of September, whatever. And we need 4 or 5 photos of the car. We are open for suggestions, and you send a portfolio, you send a suggestion, what do you want to do with the car, and they choose, let's say, a person or a couple, depending on the assignment. I had a crazy idea that I should apply for one of the cars. I send them my portfolio, I send them a crazy plan that I wanted to get the car from Stuttgart and bring it over to Bulgarian seaside. and then get it, back in a week. And they were crazy enough to say, yeah, why not? So me and a friend of mine who back then lived in Munich, my flight was a very early flight on Monday. I went there. I then got the car. I swung by, went by his home in Munich at about 5 p.m. And the next day, let's say, until we were here in Bulgaria. And then we traveled to Varna. We stayed there for a week, and we explored our seaside, and we got the car back in Sunday. So we did 5,200 kilometers in a week.
Which model did they give you?
It was a C43 AMG convertible. I always had a thing for convertibles. I had 3 convertibles in my life so far. So I was like, yeah, we need to do this. It was actually mid-March. So we actually got a pretty good weather, which I'm really thankful of. And I was able to shoot the car, in very, very cool locations like Cagliari Cape. I got a contact of the person who was responsible for that. We got a permission, especially for this. We shot at Niceber. We got some pretty cool shots. And when I got back, I edited the shots. I sent them, and I will never forget the message that I got from one of the guys. He said, yeah, that's one of the best works we've seen so far this project. And 2 months after, they have a all-time star selection. Those are cars from the MB Museum. And they used to do actually those Mercedes Benz at Europa Park. It was night at Europa Park. It's a park in Rust, Germany, that is based around European countries. You have a Greek part that is, you hear Greek music, you see all the Greek houses. You get a Norwegian part. You get different countries are represented in that park, and they have a special Silver Star, ride that is kind of a coaster. So they do work with them, and they have that special night that they close the park after, let's say, 8 p.m. And we got to, the idea at least was to bring 10 photographers and to shoot 10 to 20 cars in the different sections, as I said, in Europa Park. So I applied for this, and I was really jumping, like, when I understood it, and I found out that they did select me alongside 9 other very, very talented photographers from all over the world, mainly Europe. But yeah, so that was in May 2017. So I went there, I shot the cars, and the funny thing is that I knew most of the names beforehand because I have been monitoring their work for years. And at a point, I got to shoot alongside them with really cheaper gear. And it was really funny because I only had a suitcase that could only take so much gear, because most of them were like from Stuttgart, from Germany, and they went there by car, so they could bring a lot more gear. So yeah, I just went with a Canon Speedlight, a couple of stands, a tripod, and back then I had a Canon 6D, and a couple of lenses, and I was because we had 3 different time slots to shoot different cars, and I was looking at the gear that they had, Pro Photo B1s and all that stuff, like a lot of gear, 2 assistants each. And I had my friend Todorov. He helped me a lot, but we were doing it with gear that is like 10 times cheaper than what the other people had at the time. So, but yeah, we did a very good job as well. I'm really happy with the results, and because they were only 3 time slots and we had 10 cars, there was a draw, like a lottery. Of which person is gonna get which car, and we all wanted a 1939 Silver Arrow, which is a race car from like 1939. So we all wanted it, and like at the last draw, the last person they drew was me, and regarding that car, and I was like, yeah, that's so cool. So I got to touch it, I got to sit in it, I got to push it around to move it, so we can shoot it. And that's the car. And the locations were also chosen, by draw. This is the French location. It's a French cinema from the 90s. And yeah, we had a very, very cool experience shooting the car. It was with an engine removed, and the last time that they say that someone drove it was like at Hockenheim ring, just testing it out and all that stuff. It's
What's the what kind of car is that? What was its functionality?
It's
a
a
race
race
A
car.
race car?
It's like 500 horsepower or close. This is the W25 Silver Arrow.
So that was like a track car?
Yeah.
You'd race it on the track?
Imagine in the old movies, the guys with like the leather helmet and the scarf, like driving in the 20s.
The next thing that I got chosen for were the new and the old Mercedes Benz E-Class. That's the W124 on the left, and that's the new one at the time to your right. And that's the Spanish location. It's a Corrida, whatever. Yeah, but it was a very nice location. We were like the generations are meeting and fighting at the same time. For some people love the older models more. Some people do like the newer ones. But we wanted to showcase how things evolved throughout the years.
The E-Class is emblematic for Bulgaria. I feel like that's one of the most favorite
in the
local
mid
cars.
90s and early and mid 90s. Yeah.
All of these photos that you created, for me, they really look like something out of a movie. It's very, very cinematic. Yes, the cars look perfect, but there's just so much more like going on in the story. They're just really, really emotional and cool photos. So I can see why the guys from Mercedes were stoked.
Thank you.
You have some other pretty prolific shoots that you've done and like partnerships that you've had. You're kind of famous online for your BMW photos. So take us through like how that collaboration started. How did you get hooked up with them? Because you've shot for not only BMW here, but like in Germany for BMW.
Yeah, the guy that you will now see driving the car here in Romania on Transalpina, that's Todorov. I mentioned him as my assistant for the Mercedes-Benz shoots. He is actually he got chosen back in I believe 2010 or 11 by BMW of being the BMW's number one fan in the world. That's a title.
Wait a minute, the number one BMW fan in the world. Yes, that's a thing.
He was called the BMW super fan.
Of course, it's a Bulgarian guy from Sofia.
By the way, he's the only person that has a page. As far as my knowledge goes, that he has an unofficial BMW rated page that is officially supported by BMW. He did create the BMW X5 page, which when I last checked had over 2 million likes and follows and subscribers, whatever you want to call it. So and that was like that's a whole different project they did for the super fan thing. They had a Facebook app that you install, and it scans your profile for BMW content, and it gives a score. And would you know it? His score was the highest. So he had a big ad with him. One Todorov and 1 million followers, whatever. And it was like it was hung on a 4 or 5 story parking lot. It was that big. So he has, as you can imagine, he has connections in BMW Romania in that case, because that's where we got the car from, BMW Munich. So pretty much credit due to him. I got a contact with BMW, let's say Munich, via Todor. I contacted BMW Bulgaria on my own, but for the Munich projects and for the Romanian ones, that was through him, and we were partners in crime in both occasions. So we did the shoots and we did the traveling, both of us as a team. So
didn't you also tell me that he's like a bit of a photographer himself? Like, doesn't he shoot?
He has a quite good Instagram page. He's traveling, shooting.
Was he the
documenting his travels? So, but he shoots with his phone. That doesn't make the images less good.
I remember you showing them to me, and I was pretty impressed.
Yeah.
And this road in Romania, is it one of the roads where like the guys like to take their supercars? It's like one of those winding roads through the mountains. Was this a famous road?
Yeah, that's Transalpina. We also did a Transfiguration a couple of years later, like in 2020, I believe. So yeah, that's one of the famous roads.
That was right when we met. You were fresh off the, how do you say it?
Transfiguration.
Transfiguration
Yeah.
trail. Those were like your most recent photos, and you were when you first came into the office. That was the kind of the subject of our conversation, was those pics.
Yeah, you were hot off the.
That's also an image from Transalpina. We had an incredible luck with this fog that was rising before our eyes. So that's not added in post. That's the real deal. That's a 4 Series convertible we had, and I should mention that we did very good projects with BMW Bulgaria as well. I got the 8 Series, the M8 competition that I shot during the first lockdown. I needed to clear my head because it was a new thing for us all. And I needed to escape from all that stuff, and I needed to focus on my work. I mean, I just needed to create something good. So that's the M8 competition. I had it for a week. It was a very fun and fast week, and we got some really good images from it as well.
This is why I'm saying you have the job that every boy wants, because like BMW, Mercedes, they just like give you like a brand new car for the week. Like I remember. Yeah. They gave you the green convertible, and like Dito like pulls up like a mafia boss in front of our old office, like, get in, suckers.
And this is also the X4M competition that I shot like a couple of months ago, maybe 6 months ago. Yeah. I'm trying to experiment with light because this is a project just for portfolio here, and I can do whatever I want. So I wanted to do something different, to get the car blocked by this column and all that stuff. Lately I've been experimenting with light more and more, which I find to be one of the sculpturing elements of a photo, and you can emphasize on the important things that you want to show people.
Oh, before we move on, these photos were really interesting. The green BMW and the super like broken, rusty situation. Explain this.
Yeah, this is an abandoned facility in Kremikovci. It's, by the way, a lot of people then ask me where this is. I haven't told them because it's literally falling apart. One of the walls is so bent right now that it's gonna collapse, if it hasn't collapsed already. Anytime now. Glass were falling off the roof, and I really wouldn't recommend. We did it like for that was my second time there. I shot a different car before.
That's a pretty ballsy move with a brand new.
We inspected the area, and we said we can go there. We can't go there because there are overhanging broken pieces of glass, windows over our heads. So we were reckless, but still I wouldn't recommend anyone going there again, just for the sake of a good image. Like, you have to know where the limit is. I have done dangerous things. I wouldn't say stupid, but like you have to know where to put a stop.
Yeah, I would assume like, these cars are given to you for work, to collect content. I don't know how it would be if you're like, I'm sorry to say, but like your brand new BMW was crushed underneath a fallen concrete beam. But
that's the least of the problems. If we have a casualty, that's gonna be way worse. So that was my main concern, like for our own safety, like the car is okay. Yeah, we can work that out. But if I lose an assistant, no. I haven't lost one so far.
I have to say though, I don't know if you feel this way, Dito, but whenever I capture like a really cool shot that's in some sort of precarious situation, it carries a lot more value for me because of how hard it was to get. And so I think this shot kind of epitomizes that as like one of the coolest parts of photo and video, is capturing something just for a second that might never be recreated again. Yeah.
And just to clear things up, this is a real glass, and it was a kind of a room that I guess that the chiefs of the place were monitoring the process. I don't know, and I didn't break the glass. He was broken that way, and I just saw the shot, and I was like, yeah, can we get the car between those two parallel lines? Can we? And it was a tight fit, but yeah, we did it. So
There's one more from this series also, and it's just like these images are so different from what you see, because you have the beautiful, perfect, brand new car, and then you have this just like rusty, post-apocalyptic scene around it, and somehow it just super eye-catching.
This is where the beast lives. So
it is where the beast lives. Exactly. This is not the factory that the beast came out of, I can assure you, but sure, okay, this is where the beast lives. You have one project that I want you to show. It's my favorite one of your stuff is the Kinetic. And I'm just going to briefly touch on Kinetic is a Bulgarian electric supercar company. You explain better. You know what they're doing. Like,
well, they have two models. The first one, a Kinetic, 7. Unfortunately, that car is no longer with us because it burned in a fire they had at their facility, which is the only thing left now is are my photos. But yeah, the idea here was to create a 3D printed supercar, which they did, and it's all electric, 100% electric, with 3D printed panels. It was on a chassis, and as I said, all the panels were 3D printed. That was the interesting thing about it, and we shot it, and they did a presentation here in Sofia. They showcased the car. It was a big event, and they contacted me, and they were like, "Yeah, we do have 3D models of the car, so we need photos to make the car look real, because we know your work. You try to emphasize and to make the picture perfect, like it's 3D, but we want to as little of retouching as possible, so we can showcase that this car is actually real,
actually in existence.
And this is the shipyard where they're building the ships, and we got a permission to shoot there. That's a quite big ship that you see in the background here. And we had also to do some, detail images here with a good light. And this has also been done the same way, like compositing 3-4 different, light angles here. So we also shot inside as well at a very big, warehouse at the shipyard, which was, we needed an industrial environment, angular, to follow the shape of the car. But the cool thing is that they had, pretty, I spoke with the designer. He was one of the people that we communicated with, and he had very, strict and very specific requirements of what he wanted me to shoot and how to present it, which was, it's always good, for the client to know exactly what he wants. Like I do always put my, magic dust on top, but I can either, you can tell me I shoot the car, do it your way. I can do without any instructions, but at the same time, I can follow instructions, strictly and do it and still have my touch on top. So this is what we did here, but they had, as I said, more clear instructions of what they wanted as an end product.
This type of photography is really important for companies that are in construction, that are making innovative products. And the reason the designer has so much specifics towards you is because you are literally showcasing months and years of work and innovation and problem solving, and what the whole public even knows about their product is from the images that are getting circulated around on the website, that are going to the presentations, that are ending up in the pitch decks for investment. So for them, it's very it's really important. And when you can do something like this for a client, it really takes them to another level.
Yeah. The next thing we did was the Kinetic 27, which is, e-kart. They have a championship here in Bulgaria, and they do have a lot of karts, and they're racing them and constantly improving on the technology and, the times that they give at different tracks. Actually, they were here in Sofia a couple of months ago. So I spent a day with them. It's quite a nice experience to see how, far they've, come throughout the last couple of years, with that project.
The crazy thing is that they designed these cars. They got so far along in the development. And I remember seeing this on the news. First of all, what they did was very impressive because they're literally a small team. I think they're financed by other enthusiasts, and it was really, really horrible. But their entire factory, like
Yeah.
everything burned down, nothing was left.
Yeah.
And they had to like, start from zero basically and keep going.
I think that they were able to pull the car, the 27 out really quickly because it's smaller, but that was about it that they were able to save.
Your social media following is pretty dedicated, and you have some really fire and exciting shots. So can you pull up the selection that you created for us of some of your favorite shots and just sort of take us through the idea, what you were doing, and what that image meant for you?
Okay, I'm going to start with probably one of my most famous images that was done back in 2014 for the Bulgarian VW club. By the way, that's shot near Pernik.
What?
Yeah, but the backdrop is different. I bought this on a stock website.
Okay, I was like,
saw
because
the
that looks
Bulgaria.
like the Alps. I had never seen a mountain like that.
And the funny thing is that I really didn't believe that this shot is going to turn up because I had forgotten to because it's a composite shot. And it's done in virtual rig. That means that I have blurred the road and it made the car moving afterwards. The car is actually stationary here. It took me about a couple of days, let's say 8 to 10 hours a day back then to completely, to finish that image and to make it look believable. But I really love it because it's first of all, as I said, it's probably one of my most famous images because then the Digital for UK is a magazine based in the United Kingdom. They contacted me. They wanted to show the photo and with a brief story how it was has been taken, how I shot it. So it actually it went out in a magazine back in 2014. And imagine me I'm 2 years into this and I have publication. It was not my first publication. It was like my first publication in an international magazine, which was a big thing for me back then. Really and I really love it to this day because it's made with a gear that costs no more than $1,500 or so. So that again shows that the gear is not like it matters, but it's not like the most important thing that defines your work.
Whose Rolls Royce is this?
I have a client, Eurolink. They do specialize in cars. I mean, they import cars, especially really high-end cars. And we do a calendar for them each year. And that's one of the shots we did. I do like this image very much. It's called the technique used here is, double diffusion. It's called focus diffuse light. This pretty much has been done all in camera. But
really?
the soft lighting is really hard to reproduce, but it's the results are very pleasing. So I do definitely like this kind of technique. This is for a different client. They do specialize in retro cars. They do restorations from ground up.
This is the Sofia Monaco work?
Sofia Monaco work, yeah.
I want to meet these guys sometime.
You're gonna love their place, by the way.
I saw they posted online like the plans for their garage, and it was really aesthetic and cool. It was very fun.
So they work a lot of with German, Austrian, Hungarian clients, and they do work a lot on Porsches. This is a 912 that we shot. This is Zachana Fabrika, by the way. I wanted to give it a little bit of retro vibe here. And I really think that black and white suits very well. They also did a Vida bus. This is it's Simon Slochmeyer. This is a very talented German-based photographer. I can't wait for him to start his trip. We shot this here in Bulgaria. They finished it like a couple of months ago, and it's a really nicely made vehicle from ground up. Also, this is a 911 S, I believe, also for Sofia Monaco work. But they as you can see, the style here is different because this is what they like, and I can also shoot like not the commercial type of photos you're used to see when it comes to my work, but this type of photos and this is where we try to make it look like it's shot on film, kind of, the retro grade and the vibes and the wide open lens with the blurry background.
Yeah, it's like film, but better.
Yeah. This is also one of the cool shots I did for Eurolink. That was the last 911 Turbo S, I believe. Yeah, we shot back in 2021, if not mistaken. I really like this shot. It's also using that FDL technique that I mentioned before. It's a composite of like 4 to 5 different images. And we shot this in a garage. We had like 15 minutes. I was, rushing it. But at the same time, when you know what you're doing, when you've done it like hundreds of times, 15 minutes is enough time to make a shot, look cool. I also want to mention, this is from a British. By the way, when you say, you mean like you think it's a Bright or whatever, but it's actually a British. They do specialize in automotive, diagnostic software. They do have software for all cars, all purposes. They're one of the leading brands, by the way, not just in Bulgaria, but in worldwide as well. So this is an M5 competition we did for them in a garage, and I really like this shot because it's really, really moody. We used a smoke machine for this, and there are 4 or 5 images as a composite as well. That's for Volkswagen Bulgaria. Porsche, Porsche Sofia. This is the ID3, and we took it on a trip to the seaside when it came out. It was a very fun trip. That was my first time, getting an electric car so far away, like 500 plus kilometers in each direction. But I really like the mood here because we were in front of some kind of mall, and at some point they turned on their lights, which were constantly changing, like from purple to green to orange, and I had like 10 minutes because then the security came and kicked us out to shoot the car, and we got some really nice images during that time. Also, this is one of my latest projects. We shot that on the Lesnovo airfield. It's near Sofia, and it's for Alfa Romeo. It's Viduša Auto, and that's the latest Tonale. We had like a couple of hours to make the shots. We get to play with the airplane carousel. I got to move the carousel myself.
Because on the that's
a carousel
the ground,
on the
you
left.
can like rotate the planes.
You can.
So you're like, I don't want this one.
Yeah, I want this. I want this one. Yeah, and I positioned the car. I really like this shot because it's the lighting is very good. The colors are good. The yellow complements the blue car. I don't know. I just really love that one from the shoot.
You rolled up to fly your Alfa Romeo for the day, and you own the hangar, and you just park inside the hangar and take your other engine out.
And as I mentioned, film look and all that stuff. I must say that I'm really, really, really into film. I've been shooting film since 2014, and I want to show 3 or 4 images done with. I have a Nikon F3. I just love that camera. I have an F and an F2. For all the geeks that are going to be watching this, they're going to know what I'm talking about. And just before the pandemic, I visited Cuba. I literally, flew back on the 13th of March, 2020, where the first day of the lockdown was. But back then I do have a couple of images which are my favorites, probably as in terms of, car shots done on film. That's a normal site in Cuba, nothing special, but I do like the framing. I do like the cars. And the second one, that was one of the moments when that you have a perfect, you have perfect conditions for a shot. But when you're shooting digital, the chances of you missing that shot are like 0. But at the same time, I was walking the streets, I saw that car coming. I was only with my film camera. And I was like, okay, I have 2 seconds to figure out focus, to figure out shutter speed, and to choose a proper, f-stop. And I tried to do a rolling shot, and I was like, this either will turn out very good or total shit. And it did turn out very good. I just nailed the focus. I do like the elements. I have a flare on the back window. I do have people on the right. I just froze that car in time perfectly. And when you do it on film, it's so much more rewarding, having done that all, analog without any assistance. It's like you meter this, you focus the camera. It's a whole, chemical process that is going on, and you need to keep the film, until you get to Bulgaria. You have to develop it properly, and then you have to scan it properly just to get the image. So it's a lot more work, and it's a lot more rewarding. I do have actually a print of this. My girlfriend Sophia, she got it for me for Christmas, I believe, and it's framed and printed, and we need to just hang it somewhere. And that's also from the Nikon F3. It's the 912 you saw. We did a 50-50 mix of digital and film work for this car. So this is one of the film shots, and that's from the Leica. It's Sofia Monaco work, and that's a Vespa, and here it's a Renault 8, which is also known as the Bulgar Renault, but it's not the Bulgar Renault. It was the Renault 8, the original one. I really like that one because it's the whole aesthetic of it is, I don't know, with also the Vida panel on top. It's a workspace. It's a mechanical workshop, and you get the car. I just love it, and it's on black and white. Which I almost always shoot black and white with the Leica.
It's really, like we're so used to digital photography where you can literally see what the subject is thinking, and just to see like how much detail and clarity and sharpness and dimension, light and dark and color you can get out of film is just really, really wild.
Yeah, and the main thing that, first of all, film teaches you a lot. Like I've learned a lot of how to compose a shot, how to light it properly, how to how to choose a shot, because when you shoot film, you don't have like unlimited number of exposures. Like you just start shooting, and then you're like, I don't like that one, I'm gonna delete it. Here, every shot counts, and you put a lot more thinking into making that shot good. So as of me, this is a school that every photographer that wants to get good at it should go through. That's my understanding of it, and also it gives me so much. I never edit. Whenever I go, let's say on a trip or vacation, I only take my phone, of course, which I snap some photos with, and I take my film camera, and I only shoot film when I go somewhere, because it's so I don't have to edit photos later. I don't have to deal with it. I just get the shots done and just develop them. I bring them to a place. They develop it for me. They give me the end result, and I'm really happy. And at the same time, I've learned something new, and I've experienced that trip more analog, because we're getting more and more digital. So some analog, spicing up, and some analog elements are always a good thing. You just need to focus on your trip, not on the like 1,000 shots you're gonna get back with. I was recently, I got back from a trip in Iceland, and for 5 days I got like 70 film shots, 72 like rolls of film, which is, when you with a digital camera, you're probably gonna end up with 1,000 or more on that location.
Well, I find that you provide a tremendous amount of value to like the companies and the clients that you work with, and the work is really powerful in showcasing the products, showcasing the brands. And I'm not going to ask you like the standard question that's like, what is the advice that you would give to young photographers? The advice is get really good and, get your skills up. What would you say in this day and age is the opportunities on the market for photographers? Like, how do you see the industry? What are the opportunities that you see for young photographers coming up now in this day and age?
Shooting cars, I guess.
Yeah, in the world of shooting cars, automotive.
Well, as you know, the cars are not getting anywhere anytime soon. Like, this is a part of our lives, and more and more cars are hitting the streets every day. More and more makes. Back in the day, let's say a usual lifespan of a car, of a model is like 10 years. It's now 3 years. So that means a lot more work for people like us to shoot, new products. So there is a lot of work. You just need to be good enough, to get hired. And to be good enough to get hired, in my opinion, you just need to work your ass off. That's one of the main things that you need to do. Also, I always look at work that is better than mine. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. It's not that, I don't appreciate other people's, work, but it's like, if I look at people, if work that is worse than mine, I'm never gonna grow up, because I'm gonna say, yeah, that's what I do is better. And at the same time, when you look at some other people's work, which is a lot, let's say, better than yours, you're like, oh my God, I have so much, more to learn and to explore. Which is, in my head, it's not demotivational. It's like, on the contrary, it motivates me to grow more and to explore more.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. That was really cool. And I think that we pretty much covered all our bases for this one. So
yeah, we're really grateful
well.
to be working with you and have you in our network, and we're looking forward to many more projects
Likewise
in the coming years.
I can say the same for you guys.
Absolutely. Awesome, guys. I think we bagged it.
We bagged it. Boom.